Hi there. Sometime this week, you probably went for a color walk or even a shape walk where you walked around outside, maybe in your yard, maybe on your street, and you found flowers or plants that were all different colors or maybe even all different shapes. So let's remind ourselves what our shapes are. We've got a circle, square. What's that one called? Triangle. Rectangle. How about that one? Star. This one's kind of like an egg, like a smashed circle. It's an oval. Diamond. I think this one reminds me of a kite. And here's my favorite, heart. So I thought it would be fun if we did a little art lesson today and we tried drawing some of the flowers that we saw, and we're going to make it easy because we're going to think about it by using shapes. So the first flower that Miss Marlene was telling us about was a California poppy. Now, a California poppy, they call it California poppy because it's the state flower of California, and it is the color orange. I want you to think about a poppy as kind of a triangle shape. So here's my piece of paper. I'm going to hold it up so you can see, but you'll be drawing yours flat. Now, the other thing I want to tell you is that all of these flowers don't usually live together, but it's our picture so we can do it the way we want to, okay? So for my poppy, I'm going to draw an upside down triangle. I might have, and I'll give it a stem too. Here's my stem. I might have another poppy next to it that's open. So there's one petal, triangle, 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 and I'll have that one connected too. There are my poppies. Now, our color for our poppies was orange. So I'm going to color in my petals of my flower, and I'll add the stem details I think later. But I'm coloring in my poppy. Now, poppies do something really cool. They close up in the nighttime, and they're only open in the daytime. When flowers do that, there's a big fancy word for it. The next flower we're going to look at, the morning glory, does it too. So here's our morning glory. It's a circle shape, but not just a circle, kind of a wobbly circle. So I told you mine's going to be lots of flowers all together. So I'm going to have kind of a wobbly circle, but there's something so cool about that morning glory. It has those lines like a star right in the middle. And my morning glory was mostly purple with some yellow in the middle. So while I color, let me tell you that big word. The big word is nyctinisty. I had to write it down. Nyctinisty. And what that means that's the word for flowers opening in the daytime and closing in the nighttime. And here's why they think some flowers do that. They think maybe it's to keep from freezing. They think maybe it is to help save their scent, their odor, because they want bees to come over. They think maybe it's to keep the pollen dry so that it's easier for the bees to come over. But that big word, flowers that open in the daytime and close at night, they have nyctinisty. Now my morning glory had a little bit of orangey yellow in the middle. So there's my orangey yellow right there in the middle. Okay, my next flower that I'm going to draw is a nasturtium. Now, some of these pictures Miss Marlene sent us, some of the pictures my friend Dan took. He lives in San Francisco and he goes for walks every day and takes pictures of flowers. So our nasturtium, again, is kind of a wobbly circle shape. And I liked it because it has two colors on it, right? It's kind of yellowish orange, but then it has those darker patches of orange or red. So here's my nasturtium. I'm going to make it kind of an orange color, but then I'm going to use my red crayon to add some of those markings, little red triangles I'm adding onto mine. Now, did you know you can eat a nasturtium? You can. Now, I do not recommend that you just go on to the street and pick one up and eat it, but people put nasturtiums in salads. I've had it before. It doesn't really taste like anything to me. Here's those big green leaves around the nasturtium. I like those because they have that dot in the middle and have all of those lines coming out. So I'm going to color some of those green leaves around the nasturtium. Now I think we're ready. We've had our triangle shape, which was our poppy. We've had some circle-shaped flowers, some wobbly circles. I think we're ready for some that look more like a regular circle flower. Now the next flower is a rose. This is a pink rose. The rose is the state flower of New York. It's also the state flower, the national flower of the United States. So here's my circle. And then for my rose, I'm just going to make some wobbly lines in there, some curvy lines. I'm not so great at rose petals, but that gives us the idea of a rose. And then I think I was going to color that one in pink. Another one that's kind of a circle is a camellia. Now, camellias should look familiar to you because those are the ones we have at Grace Preschool out in the courtyard outside of our classrooms. We have all of those pink camellias. The camellia in this picture is red. It's one that I have at my house. So here's my red camellia with my circle. And for my camellia, instead of wobbly lines, I'm going to do kind of zigzag lines because that to me looks more like what my camellia has. And then that circle center. And mine is more of a pinkish red, so I'm going to color it red. There's my red camellia. Now a reminder, I've got all my flowers together on the page. Yours might be different. You might have yours more spread out of which ones live with each other. That's okay. The camellia is also a state flower. It's the state flower of Alabama, if you know anybody who lives in Alabama. Now we're moving on to a different shape. So we've done our triangle-shaped poppies. We've done our circle, wobbly circle shape rose and camellia and nasturtium. Another one that we're going to do is called, well, actually one more little circle one. This one is called clematis, and I had to look it up online because I'd never seen it before, but it has all of these little circles, and then in the circles they have all of these other little spots. I'm just going to make mine kind of with polka dots. You could draw the little circles if you want to, but here are my little polka dots, and that one was a light pink color. So I'm going to make it a light pink color. All right. Now, after our clematis, now we're moving on to a different shape. We're going to use our oval along with our circle to build some flowers. So our daisies have a circle center, not this big though, and oval petals that go all around it. So we've got two kinds of daisies in our pictures, and I'm calling them daisies, but they probably have different names. One of them is orange on the inside, an orange circle, and yellow on those petals, yellow petals. The other one that we see has an orange center, orangish yellow center, and it has white petals. So I'm still making my ovals, but for that one, I'm just going to leave those white petals alone. And I'm going to use my orange, whoops, dropping my crayons, my orange on the inside. So I've got two kinds of daisies with circles and ovals. Now, check out this pink flower. It is like the daisy, that it has a circle center, but its petals are more of a diamond shape. So this one is called Daphne, and it has a circle in the middle. Then it has these cool kind of diamond shaped petals. This is tricky. This one's a lot trickier to draw. We're just going to do our best, okay? There's my Daphne, and the Daphne was pink. That was one of the ones that Miss Marlene saw at her neighbor's house. So pink Daphne, there we go. And then there's another one that has kind of these diamond-shaped petals, and it's called Night Blooming Jasmine. So our Night Blooming Jasmine, let's make sure you can see this here. Our Night Blooming Jasmine has a little circle center, and it has those diamonds. Almost, you know what, it's almost kind of rectangles coming out of it. And then another one here, and I'm going to use those rectangles because I like that better. And there were several of them together, right? So I'm making mine all together. And our Night Blooming Jasmine were all that bright yellowish orange color. So I dropped my yellow crayon. Excuse me a second. There we go. Yellow. And maybe even a little orange on top to give it that good golden color. There we go. There's my Night Blooming Jasmine. Now this next one I've never seen before. I think it's so interesting looking and so pretty, and it has just about the best name that I think you're going to love. It's called Fairy Crassula, and here's what it does. It has a circle on the inside, a little circle, and then it has 4 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4. And those petals almost look like rectangles. But then it has these little things that stick out too, like that. And that one was pinkish white. And here's something really interesting about the Fairy Crassula. They call it that because once those flowers all dry up, and I think I'm going to make just a couple of more next to it. Once those flowers all dry up, it says that it looks like a little fairy flying around. There's my Fairy Crassula. Oops, I forgot my little lines. There we go. Fairy Crassula. Such a good name. And then we have a pretty shape flower with my favorite shape. It's called a primrose. So for our primrose, I'm holding this up high so you can see, the petals are heart-shaped. So I'm going to make some hearts. I've got some upside down, some sideways, and give it a little center. And maybe I'll make another one of those next to it with hearts all over. And our primrose was kind of a light pink color again. We've got a lot of pink flowers today, but that's okay. There's my primrose. And then the last one I want to show you came out of my yard, and it's called a bluebell. And it's not like any of the other shapes that we have, but it looks like little bells. So if you picture a triangle but rounded off, or if you picture the letter like a little rainbow, if I'm going to make my bell, I'm going to make a little rainbow and a little rainbow and a little rainbow. Do you see those? And then I'm going to give it a little wavy line on the bottom. And then they have little pieces that stick out that look kind of like bells ringing. And they're all on the same stem, like that. And those are blue. So for our color walk, we've got purple, we've got blue, we've got red, orange, yellow, we've got white, and now we need green. So all of these have green around them, but I want to show you a couple of shapes. One thing that has a lot of green is ivy. And ivy is heart-shaped. That one I just drew right with my crayon. But there's my ivy. And usually ivy grows with a lot. It's usually just not one leaf of ivy. It's a lot of ivy. Some of our trees have different shapes. Like a maple tree has a star-shaped leaf. So you can make your star kind of like that. Or you can do a lot of lines. It doesn't have to be a perfect star. But our maple trees have those star-shaped leaves. And we have this beautiful leaf that I'm not sure what it goes to, but it has this pretty, pretty leaf that's kind of an oval shape, and the lines go up, and it's green on top, but it is purple on the bottom. Purple on the bottom. Look at that. Now, I like to take my green crayon and go back to my picture and add stems to everything. So I've got my poppy here that I'm going to add some stems. I've got my fairy cressula that had some green around it. Here's my bluebell that gets a little green on its stem. Here is my primrose that I'm going to give some green stems. Here's my Daphne, and my night blooming jasmine had leaves around it. My camellia has big leaves around it, right? Those big pointy leaves that stick out. My rose has a nice stem and a little bit of green around it, maybe some leaves on that stem. My morning glory has that big vine that grows around it. My, what did we call these pink ones? My clematis has stems on them. My nasturtium, we already drew some of the leaves for the nasturtium. And here are my daisies with stems. Now, if I wanted to make it look like a real garden, I could also add some weeds, right? My garden has a lot of weeds in it because it's kind of like a meadow. There you go. Now we've got a picture that has all kinds of shapes and all kinds of colors. I would love to see yours if you want to send it to me. I'd love to see the flowers that you make too.